Hello, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day from the American Banjo Museum in Oklahoma City. My name is Johnny Baier. It is a delight to be with you again. We're going to send some Irish cheer right out to your homes today. My first St. Patrick's Day as a banjo player happened back in 1972. I was working at Shakey's Pizza Parlor in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where, if you're not aware, Oshkosh was one of the two world's favorite party spots for St. Patrick's Day back in the 1970s. The owner of Shakey's came up to me a couple of weeks before St. Patrick's Day, and he said, "You better learn the Irish songs for St. Patrick's Day." So I went home, I asked my dad, what song should I learn? He had the perfect record in mind. He pulled out this LP recording of Bing Crosby called Shillelaghs and Shamrocks, and in his opinion, had every Irish song I needed to learn. So I sat in my bedroom and I learned every song on Shillelaghs and Shamrocks, and a couple days before St. Patrick's Day, I went in and played them for the guy from Shakey's, and he said, "What are those songs?" I meant Irish songs, songs that people can sing. So we're going to do for you a little bit of a combination of some of the obscure Irish things that were included on Bing Crosby's first St. Patrick's Day album back in 1945, and then some of the songs you'd all recognize. Off of the improved and approved Shakey's St. Patrick's Day sing-along list, the next song we're going to open with was the only thing that the owner from Shakey's had ever heard before from Bing Crosby's Shillelagh and Shamrocks record. So here we go with McNamara's Band. Oh, my name is McNamara, I'm the leader of the band. Although we're few in number, we're the best band in the land. We play at wakes and weddings and at every fancy ball. When we play the funerals, we play the march from Saul. Well, the drums go bang, the cymbals climb, the horns they blaze away. McCarthy pumps the old bassoon while I the pipes can play. And Hennessy, Tennessee toodles the flute, and the music is something grand. A credit to old Ireland is McNamara's band. La da da da, 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 la da da da. Miss Uncle Julius, and from Sweden I did come to play with McNamara's band and beat the big bass drum. And when I march along the street, the ladies think I'm grand. They shout, "That's Uncle Julius playing with an Irish band." Well, I wear a bunch of shamrocks, a uniform of green. I am the funniest looking Swede that you have ever seen. Tara O'Brien's and Lyons and Sheehan's and Means, they come from Ireland. By Yemeni, I'm the only Swede in McNamara's band. Well, the drums go bang, the cymbals clang, the horns they blaze away. McCarthy pumps the old bassoon while I the pipes can play. And Hennessy, Tennessee toodles the flute, music is something grand. A credit to old Ireland is McNamara's band. La da da da, 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 la da da da. Right now we are rehearsing for a very swell affair. The annual celebration, all the gentry will be there. When General Grant to Ireland came, he took me by the hand. Says he, "I never saw the likes of McNamara's band." Well, the drums go bang, the cymbals clang, the horns they blaze away. McCarthy pumps the old bassoon while I the pipes do play. And Hennessy, Tennessee toodles the flute, music is something grand. A credit to old Ireland is McNamara's band. La da da da, 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 a recurring theme throughout this show is going to be Bing Crosby. When I heard Bing Crosby singing all these wonderful old Irish songs, when I was just about 15 years old and starting to play the banjo, I was hooked on Irish songs. And then later on, I found out a lot of people in Ireland don't really think of Bing Crosby songs as really being Irish. And I understand because they don't sing songs like this too much in Ireland anymore. But this song really has an Irish history. It goes back to 1913 and, of course, was popularized in 1942 when Bing Crosby sang it to Barry Fitzgerald in Going My Way. It's called Tura Lura Lura, an Irish lullaby. And I've got it in a little medley of other Irish songs that really are Irish. You're going to be hearing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, and My Wild Irish Rose, and Molly Malone, all songs made popular by Chauncey Olcott, who really was an American actor, songwriter, and singer, but he had the spirit of Irish America. But we're going to start this little medley off with Bing Crosby and the memory of an Irish lullaby. Over in Killarney, many years ago, my mother sang a song to me in tones so soft and low. Just a simple little ditty in her good old Irish way. And I'd give the world if I could hear that song of hers today. Tooraloo-ra-lura, hush, now don't you cry. Tooraloo-ra-lura, tooraloo-ra-lie, tooraloo-ra-lura. That's an Irish lullaby. Flower that grows. You may search everywhere, but none can compare to my wild Irish rose. My wild Irish rose, the dearest flower that grows. And someday for my sake she may let me take the bloom from my wild Irish rose. In Dublin's fair city, where girls are so pretty, 'twas there I first met my sweet Molly Malone. She towed her wheelbarrow through streets dark and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. One of the songs off of Bing Crosby's 1942 St. Patrick's Day album, which introduced so many of these old Irish tunes to an American audience, was a song called Who Threw the Overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder? Now, this would give the impression that the day Mrs. Murphy did her laundry, she also made soup in the same pot. And it was a comic novelty song that was written by George Geffer back in 1898. But in those days, it was written as Mistress Murphy's Chowder, not Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. So somewhere between 1898 and 1945, Mistress Murphy got married, but the pants were still in the soup. Let's have a little fun with Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. Who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder? Nobody spoke, so he shouted all the louder. It's an Irish trick, that's true. I can lick them, make that through. The overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. Mrs. Murphy gave a party about a week ago. Everything was plentiful. Well, the Murphys, they're not slow. They treated us like gentlemen. We tried to act the same. Only for what happened, well, it was an awful shame. Mrs. Murphy dished the chowder out and fainted on the spot. She found a pair of overalls at the bottom of the pot. Tim Nolan, he got ripping mad. His eyes were bulging out. He jumped up on the piano and loudly he did shout. Who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder? Nobody spoke, so he shouted all the louder. It's an Irish trick, that's true. I can lick them, make that through. The overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. They dragged the pants from out the soup and laid them on the floor. Each man, he swore upon his life he'd not seen them before. They were plastered up with mortar, were worn out at the knee. They had their many ups and downs as we could plainly see. When Mrs. Murphy, she came to, she starts to cry and pout. She'd had 'em in the wash that day, forgot to take 'em out. Tim Nolan, he excused himself for what he'd said that night. So we put music to the words and sung with all our might. Ho, who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder? Nobody spoke, so he shouted all the louder. It's an Irish trick, that's true. I can lick them, make that through. The overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. Who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder? Nobody spoke, so he shouted all the louder. It's an Irish trick, that's true. I can lick them, make that through. The overalls in Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. We're going to give Bing Crosby a well-deserved few minutes off here and go to one of my favorite Hollywood renditions of the Irish culture. Back in 1952, the legendary film director John Ford went to his ancestral home of Ireland, where he filmed The Quiet Man, starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara and Barry Fitzgerald, Victor McLaughlin, and a wonderful cast of Irish performers. The Quiet Man really, to me, represents the joy of the Irish culture and the spirit of the Irish culture, especially as it's seen from America. When Victor Young created the wonderful musical score for The Quiet Man, I heard it and fell in love with the country and the music, and I'd like to play for you some of my favorite themes from The Quiet Man. One of my favorite songs on the Shillelaghs and Shamrocks album by Bing Crosby was a song called Dear Old Donegal. It is a song about an Irish young man who goes to America to make his fame and fortune and returns to Ireland. Kind of the story of the quiet man, if you think about it. Its song is called Dear Old Donegal, but originally it was called Home to Donegal. And it is one of the most fun, loving, spirited Irish tunes I can think of. So let's take you home to Donegal. 3 years ago this very day I left the port of Cork. On a ship from Old Donegal I landed in New York. Without a friend to meet me, I was a stranger on the shore. But I wore an honest Irish heart and fortune came galore. So here I am back again on dear Old Donegal's Isle. My friends, they meet me on the quay and they greet me with a smile. There's faces there I surely forgot, I was so long away. My mother, she'd introduce them all, and this is what she'd say. Shake hands with your Uncle Mike, me boy, shake hands with your sister Kate. This is the girl you used to swing down on the garden gate. Shake hands with all the neighbors and kiss the colleens all. You're as welcome as the flowers in May to dear old Donegal. Well, they gave a party when I came back. They came from near and far. The road was lined for near a mile with Irish jaunty car. And the whiskey flowed like buttermilk to fill our hearts with joy. And the piper played an Irish reel to welcome the Yankee boy. Tomorrow out to church I'll go, and wedded I will be to my sweet little Colleen, the Biddy McGee. For Biddy was true and faithful to her body all the sea. Tomorrow harp and shamrock with the stars of liberty. There came Brannigan, Flanagan, Milligan, Gilligan, Duffy, McGuffey, Malarkey, Mahone, Rafferty, Lafferty, Donnelly, O'Connell, Dooley, Old Holy, Muldowney, Malone, Madahan, Callaghan, Lanahan, Flanahan, Fagan, O'Hagan, O'Houlihan, Flynn, Shanahan, Manahan, Fogarty, Hogarty, Kelly, O'Skelly, McGinnis, McGinn. So shake the hand of your Uncle Mike, hand of your sister Kate. This is the girl you used to swing down on the garden gate. Shake hands with all the neighbors and kiss the colleens all, and you'll live content and pay no rent in dear old Donegal. One of my favorite St. Patrick's Day memories goes back to the years when I would play at Rosie O'Grady's in Orlando, Florida. Where else would you want to play Irish music but a place called Rosie O'Grady's? And come St. Patrick's Day, it took on a new meaning. Church Street came alive with Irish music. One particular year, the Church Street brought in the Irish Rovers. This was the biggest band that ever came out of Ireland at the time, and they had a hit song that everybody wanted to hear. Now, the song we're going to do for you right now actually wasn't a song at all to start with. Back in 1962, a very popular songwriter and poet and entertainer named Shel Silverstein wrote this poem called The Unicorn. And when he recorded it, it got to the Irish Rovers, and they took it and made it into a St. Patrick's Day classic. A long time ago when the earth was green, there were more kinds of animals than you've ever seen, running around free while the earth was being born. The loveliest of all was the unicorn. There were green alligators and long-necked geese, humpback camels and chimpanzees, cats and rats and elephants as sure as you're born. The loveliest of all was the unicorn. Now the Lord saw some sinning, and it brought him pain. He said, stand back, I'm gonna make it rain. He said, Brother Noah, I'll tell you what you do. You can build me a floating zoo, and you get me 2 green alligators, 2 long-necked geese, 2 humpback camels and 2 chimpanzees, 2 cats and rats, 2 elephants, and donors you're born. Noah, don't forget my unicorn. Now Noah was there, and he heeded the calling. He finished up the ark just as the rain started falling. He marched in the animals two by two, and he called as they went through. Hey Lord, I got your green alligators, your long-necked geese, your humpback camels and your chimpanzees, your cats, your rats, your elephants. Lord, I'm so forlorn, I just don't see no unicorn. Now Noah looked out through the driving rain. The unicorns were hiding and playing silly games, kicking and a-splashing while the rain was pouring. Oh, those silly unicorns. The ark started floating away with the tide, and the unicorns looked up from the rocks and they cried. The water came along and sort of floated them away. That's why you'll never see a unicorn to this very day. You'll see green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-back camels and your chimpanzees, cats and rats and elephants. As sure as you're born, you're never gonna see no unicorn. After World War II, America was in an Irish phase. Every St. Patrick's Day, people would gather at parties and sing the wonderful Irish songs celebrating that Irish culture that Hollywood preserves so well. There was a real demand for some new tunes. Every St. Patrick's Day, somebody would come out with something that sounded Irish, even though it really never hit the shores of Ireland. This next song is one of those tunes, but it really has a wonderful Irish sentiment and identity. Burton Lane and Yip Harburg. Yip Harburg, the guy who wrote the lyrics to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, got together in 1949 and wrote a brand new Broadway show. It's called Finnian's Rainbow. It included some songs that over the years sound so Irish that people think they are. This next one is one of them. It's one of my favorites. I love to hear it, especially from the 1968 film when Fred Astaire and Petula Clark reprised the story and this wonderful song. When Bing Crosby's St. Patrick's Day album came out in 1942, it included a song called The Same Old Shillelagh My Father Brought from Ireland. When I heard that song, it was a natural. I had to learn it because, if you're not aware, a shillelagh is an Irish walking stick. I brought one with me today, and this was my father's shillelagh, which he brought from a visit to Ireland. So when I heard that song, it was a natural for me to learn. And when you hear the line of the song that says, "Many's the time he used it on me to make me understand," this little shillelagh was used many a time to make me understand. But we're still good friends, and I'm glad he could share this day with you. My father's shillelagh. 50 years ago, my father left old Erin shore. He landed here, shillelagh in hand, and devil a penny more. He got a job, then got a wife, and then a family. And then he died and left his old shillelagh stick to me. Sure, it's the same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. The devil a man was prouder than he as he walked with it in his hand. He'd lead the band on Paddy's Day and twirl it round his mitts. The devil of it, we'd laugh at it, for Dad would have a fit. Sure, with the same old shillelagh my father could lick a dozen men. As fast as they'd get up, begorra, he'd knock 'em down again. And many's the time he used it on me to make me understand. The same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. Well, I'm a-going on the police force, it's the only thing to do. Instead of having one night stick, begorra, I'll have two. If there's a fight, I'll be alright, there's no one bothers me. Because I have the old shillelagh my father gave to me. Sure, it's the same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. The devil a man was prouder than he as he walked with it in his hand. He'd lead the band on Paddy's Day and twirl it round his mitts. And devil a bit, we'd laugh at it, for Dad would have a fit. Sure, with the same old shillelagh my father could lick a dozen men. As fast as they'd get up, begorra, he'd knock 'em down again. And many's the time he used it on me to make me understand. The same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. Yes, it's the same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. And devil a man was prouder than he as he walked with it in his hand. He'd lead the band on Paddy's Day, twirl it round his mitts. And devil a bit, we'd laugh at it, for Dad would have a fit. Sure, with the same old shillelagh my father could lick a dozen men. As fast as they'd get up, begorra, he'd knock 'em down again. And many's the time he used it on me to make me understand. The same old shillelagh my father brought from Ireland. I hope you have enjoyed sharing a bit of St. Patrick's Day Irish cheer with me today. It's been a wonderful stroll down memory lane as I go back to my early days at Chicky's Pizza Parlor, playing those Irish songs that everybody used to sing along to, and listening to Bing Crosby sing the Irish favorites in my bedroom until they went around and round in my head and I could play them. This has really been a lot of fun for me, and I hope you have enjoyed it as well. It would not be a St. Patrick's Day Irish celebration without playing one of the most beloved melodies of the Irish culture. Actually, it was written by an Englishman, but it is a song that wherever you go, wherever you hear it, you will think of Ireland. Oh, Danny boy.